Hey guys, Mrhappy here, and welcome to Mondays with Mrhappy. On Tuesdays, sorry guys, I forgot about the episode yesterday. I was busy writing up my guides for turns 10, 11, and 12 all day yesterday. All three of them I was doing them at the same time because I believe I'm going to get the chance to record them all tonight. So if you were looking forward to those guides, you can expect them. But regardless, welcome to the show. Did it on Tuesday this week. Gonna get back to Monday next week. It's just a weekly Q&A show I started up about 3 months ago, where I just look at the questions I get on the previous entries in the series, and I just answer them. So week 11 had a lot of questions that I missed that I really wanted to answer. I am going to start on week 12 questions here, and to make up for it, I'm going to do an extra few questions compared to what I usually do. So without further ado, let's get into the questions. Okay, so the first question is actually a great one, and it's somebody who comes by my stream. I've seen them very often. Hey Happy, what are your thoughts on the horrible itemization for summoners in patch 2.4. I'm actually considering dropping the job in favor of Black Mage just because it is so bad. Spell speed everywhere. Now, as somebody who played Bard for a year, I can tell you that you guys just got this now. We got this back in 2.2. Bad itemization is actually a form of balance. I know it's a stupid thing to hear, but it actually is. Back in 2.0, we could get like 630, 640 critical hit rate. I remember having an average crit rate on turn 5 of 41%, and just say that out loud. An average crit rate of 41% with all that. Considering how integral it was to our kit, they probably did this on purpose because they saw summoners were going, if summoners just got the best possible stats on all their gear, they were probably going to outscale a lot of other jobs strictly in this patch. So as far as I'm concerned, it's a form of balance, one that was probably needed because summoners are hitting really hard right now. But that doesn't mean that the job is going to be bad. I mean, you got to remember, those off stats only do so much for your job. Yes, spell speed is a very much wasted stat on summoner, but if you've enjoyed it thus far, you don't worry about it. You just stick it out and you'll be alright. But if you want to give Black Mage a try, definitely go ahead. Regardless, you'll be alright. Another good question, do you see any point in defeating and farming all of second coil now, or does it make more sense to simply defeat the second coil and move on to the final? I guess it depends. In about a couple of months after people have had time to farm up Ironworks gear, it may be less relevant. But right now, going into the final coil in full 110 gear, you're gonna want every edge you can get, and having a good 110 best in slot list is definitely beneficial to you. It depends on how easy it is for you to access farming 6, 7, 8, and 9, or second coil 1, 2, 3, and 4, but it's definitely still worth it right now, and it's a good idea. If you're considering it and you have the option, definitely do it to maximize your stats going into the final coil of Bahamut. This is actually, I really like this question, and this is somebody who asks me great questions every week. Mrhappy, can you please tell us any interesting stories related to you in the Duty Finder? Something funny or interesting? I'm sure you're loaded with tales. Also, what are next week's winning lottery numbers? 8, 3, and 6. I got a story for that too. So, I had one just like a week ago. I don't remember the guy's name, but there was a tank, warrior, full 110, had his conqueror, everything. I don't know if, it seemed maybe he got his gear from Sands and Oils, I can't tell. But we're going through the dungeon, I'm queued with 2 of my friends, I'm on my scholar, they're on their DPS, and he's the tank. So we queue in, and we're going through the first few trash mobs, and I notice him losing aggro to my friends, and I don't think much of it. The friends I was with do insane amounts of damage, so if he's used to just regular Duty Finder groups where you don't always get those like really high DPS, those people who don't necessarily try all that much because it's a dungeon, I don't know, we assumed, you know, he's losing aggro on a few mobs, it's not a big deal. But we get to the first boss, and my 2 DPS friends tanked the entire thing, and we wiped once and then we had to do it again, and they almost wiped again. And as a scholar, I was not very happy with it, but I was like, I don't want to say anything. But then my friends were like, hey man, we just noticed you're not using Butcher's Block. And now I'm like, okay, well, now I'm kind of, now I kind of just got to be like, yeah, can you use Butcher's Block, please? Because the DPS were pulling aggro, and I had to heal them the entire fight, like they were tanking the entire fight. And he said, aggro is not a problem. And I was just like, yeah, you're not tanking right now. And he just said, I have Infuriate, I have Flash, I have Overpower, he was just naming AoE abilities. Oh, he said I have Provoke, and I've not been having trouble with aggro this entire dungeon. And we were just like, you haven't been tanking this entire dungeon. I hope you know that. And he's just like, you don't need Butcher's Block, it's a waste of a skill. And at that point, my friends were like, okay, we're going to have to vote dismiss this guy because it's not going to work. And I agreed to it. But, you know, that just kind of leads me to the story. It's like, if you are getting advice, take it all with a grain of salt, but also explore the option that the people give to you. I mean, this guy was not holding aggro, but he was convinced that he was. I mean, just, we're telling the guy, use Butcher's Block, and he's just like, no. He refused to do it, and it was just, that kind of, like, I like help. I don't mind people who don't necessarily know how to play their job in Duty Finder, like, especially low levels. I don't like to tell people exactly what to do, and if I do, I try to be nice about it. But some people are just not receptive to advice at all, and if you're not using Butcher's Block on your tank, I highly recommend you use Butcher's Block on your tank. Okay, this is I think I'm going to make a standalone video about this, but I'll give you a quick synopsis. Because I've gotten this question so many times that this is going to cover like half the questions in my comment section. Happy, what happened to your old free company, Legacy? I also noticed that you jumped from Sargatanas to Gilgamesh. Was there a falling out? I would understand if you don't want to answer this. I'm going to make a video letting everyone know because I get questions on the daily basis. Wait, you're on Gilgamesh now? Basically, it was just a difference in goals. I don't have any sour feelings towards Legacy. I didn't when I left. I left of my own free will. I was just like, you know, I don't feel like we're really pushing and striving to improve and be better anymore as a free company. And I want to play with people who are, you know, always looking to win. You know, they're looking to progress. They're looking to spend hours and hours on those fights to try and get them done as soon as they can when they come out. So I left because I just didn't feel like our goals or our desire to improve was the same anymore. And since moving to Death and Taxes, I feel that even in just a week, I've become a much better player, like significantly better than before. Between playing with some more insightful people who every day look at ways to improve their damage and their way to improve money and the way that they handle mechanics. Every day they strive to be better, and I love being in that atmosphere. So that is why I left Legacy, and I am now with Death and Taxes on Gilgamesh. Death and Taxes also very reputable. I've known about them since World of Warcraft days. It's very early World of Warcraft days. So that is the story behind that. And here's a question about a ninja rotation, which I've actually been like more so than I did Bard when it first came out. Like I kind of just oh yeah, this is how it's done. But for Ninja, yeah, I definitely want to read this. I've been thinking about the Ninja rotation and thought about the ninjutsu you should use regularly. People told me it's Raiton, but I think if you use the Shuriken, you don't lose the GCD. And you can do an ability that equals the 120 potency difference between the two. So it's really viable to use Raiton. No, don't use the Fuma Shuriken. The Fuma Shuriken is pretty much just for level 30. Even as soon as you unlock Raiton at what I think it's 35 or 40, you pretty much never use it. It depends. It's okay to lose a little bit of time. It's as long as you're not like delaying your GCD like 5 seconds. It's a 380 potency nuke. Like it is substantial. Trust me. You don't want to use the Fuma Shuriken once you have the access to Raiton. Short question. I like those. Hey, Mr. Happy. Short question. Will we ever see a Chocobo barding for Ifrit, Garuda, or Titan? You know, that's a good question. That could get people doing Ifrit, Garuda, and Titan a hard mode again. Yeah, sure. Why not? Listen, I don't develop for the game, so I couldn't give you an answer here. But it's something I'd be down for. I think that would actually be a really good idea. But we'll just have to wait and see. Next question, Mr. Happy. I have 2 questions. That's Grady. It's okay. Do you think guild has will ever be changed to have more use? No. They are literally meant to be a tutorial, like the most basic of tutorials. So to give them more use, it's like, who are you teaching at that point, you know? When you hit level 50 and you've got the experience in the new dungeons and everything, who are you really teaching with these guild hests? Could they add more of them to make them a bit more integral into the leveling system? Yeah, but I don't see them really having more use. And do you think in the future there'll be some way to spend your achievement points? Nah. I mean, they could. Again, it's not like they couldn't do it. I just always felt like achievement points were completely vanity. I remember thinking that back when Xbox first did achievements. I was like, oh, what can you spend the points on? And my friend was like, nothing. They're just for EPing. And I was just like, that's a lot of hard work for some EPing. And now you see people who make a lot of money, who make money because they farm achievements. So I don't know. No, I don't think that'll be the case. Sorry. All right, here is a question that I'm not sure that the asker is 100% sure what they're asking. But question for next week, where the heck can I get more Chocobo gear? People keep lying to me on the interwebs and I have lame-ass stuff. I hope you understand that the gear, I don't know if you're talking about gear that looks like, for your character itself, like you're wearing a Chocobo suit, or if you mean the armor that your actual Chocobo is wearing, your companion. But regardless, I just want you to know that gear doesn't change the stats of your Chocobo, and the gear for yourself is just pure vanity, and you can't even really vanity it on. You can't really glamour it on anyway. More Chocobo gear. You have the Sleipnir barding from having the 5 Odin's mantles. You have Leviathan barding. You have Shiva barding. You have Ramu barding. Those all have to be crafted. There's a lot of old seasonal ones that you can't really get anymore. Like there's a Christmas one. The Halloween one I think is gone now. I don't remember when the Halloween event begins and ends, or specifically when it ends. There's lots of places you can get it. There's achievements that reward Chocobo gear. There's getting them to rank 10 gives them a set of gear. But it doesn't have any effect on your Chocobo stats. As for the actual Chocobo like suit, the 4-piece suit that's just from the neck down, a Chocobo, that's an achievement reward from getting your Chocobo to rank 10. Also, there's a mask back from 1.0. I don't think you can get it anymore. I'm sure they'll remedy that at some point. And there's also some armor people dye yellow to make them look like a Chocobo. So regardless of which one your question was, hopefully I answered it. Another really simple one. How are you streaming PS4 gameplay on your Twitch channel? Future streamer? You have to buy a capture card is what they are called, and you have to hook it up to your computer. Very, very easy to set up once you actually buy them, but they can be a bit expensive initially. I use an Elgato HD, and their newest model I've heard very, very good things about. I have an older model, but it still works perfectly fine. So yeah, go look into an Elgato HD capture card, or look into the things like I think what are other ones? I don't even know. Ava Media? I don't even remember. But there's a bunch of ones out there, so go take a look. A Destiny question. You know, even though I don't really play Destiny anymore, I still appreciate the questions I get about the game because I wanted it to be so good. A Destiny question. What do you think about how they are dealing with special events, i.e. the Iron Banner? Do you think they're just being lazy by recycling already used events? The Iron Banner... Well, in most events, yeah, they are just being kind of lazy. And the gear is, like, not even worth it. There's no vanity system in the game, so the gear that's worse than your current gear is just dumb. Iron Banner is something I feel like should be, like, every weekend event. Like, it should be something that's only open for a short time. Because it is... I've heard better things about the Iron Banner now in the latest implementation of it. I don't know, I just feel like the game... The fact that they're already developing a Destiny 2, which I knew they were going to do, like, it was in their contract, they had to make, I think, 4 games, plus DLC in between each one over the course of the next 10 years. Yeah, I don't know. Unless it's really good, yeah, the event's just not that good. I'm just generally not a fan of Destiny, so before I get off on a rant on that, let's move on to the next question. Alright, I'm going to do a few more questions from this week's video, and then I am going to go back and look at last week's video and see if I can find anything. So this one, what are your thoughts on Monk versus Nin now that there are quite a few level 50 ninjas running around? They're about equal. I'd say Ninja and Monk are definitely about equal. I still see, like, I know really good Monks in equivalent item level that still pull some numbers higher than me. But regardless, they're both good. Like, they're both on a good place. Whereas Dragoon, at this point, really does need buffs. Like, they really, really need buffs. Just because I want to see Dragoons be good. You know, I played Final Fantasy XI long enough where Dragoons were outside of the XP parties not that popular around after, you know, maybe a year or two after the game came out here, after they changed the TP thing. So I'd like to see one of the Final Fantasy games I play or have played have a Dragoon be good. So they're both good, but Dragoon needs a buff. Alright, this next question is something that I've seen a lot of newer tanks definitely notice. Question, I usually play healer support characters in games if I can help it. Recently I've been thinking about trying tanking, so I have a Gladiator at 23 and a Marauder at 19, and I'm loving Marauder. My question is, why is it so much harder to keep hate as a Gladiator? Is it just me, or are Gladiators just more difficult at lower levels? I've gotten some help with some other people in game, but it's still really hard, and I dread continuing with my Gladiator. Okay, so there's two things attributing to this. The first one is a lot of the people you play with in low-level dungeons are probably going to be max-level people scaled down. Now, while their gear is scaled down, as players, they know how to, even at those levels, push more damage than other players, and especially newer tanks, It's completely unforgivable for them. So that might be one reason why you're losing aggro. The second one is, yeah, gladiators, even with the buff to flash, are probably still having a little bit tougher of a time than marauders are. I don't know exactly how much they changed flash in terms of how much it does, but overpower is or was a lot stronger than flash was at lower levels. Sure, it costs all your TP to do it, but you only really had to do it 2 or 3 times. And that, I don't know, yeah, just gladiators, it's a little bit harder to hold aggro at low levels. It's definitely something that's common. Don't worry about it so much. Just spam flash and you should be okay. There you go. Spam flash on AoE pulls before I cut that. Don't spam it on bosses. Use your single target combos on bosses and don't spam flash. Okay, so I had a lot more questions this week than I thought. I am going to still do some videos from last week's as well. I said I would. I'm just going to have... This video is going to be a little bit longer. I'm sure some people won't mind that, but other people's might. So I have a question here. I got a quick and easy question for you. You mentioned how you used to play WoW. Also the fact that you're so dedicated to your bard. No, not dedicated. Stuck. But regardless, did you play a hunter? No, I didn't like hunter in WoW. I played a warlock and a rogue. And do you still play WoW? No, I quit that game around Cataclysm. It's just not for me. Any comment about anything at the current state of WoW? I mean, it's still a game with a lot of history. It's still got the lore that I like. I've always loved the Warcraft universe as a whole, and that's the only way that I still support Warcraft, really, is by supporting the lore, as long as it's well written, unlike some of the books that have come out in the last decade. But regardless, current state, I don't really have anything to say because I'm not playing it. I have a friend who hates the current state of World of Warcraft, but WoD is coming out in what, like 2 days or like 1 day? What's today's date? Today is the 11th. What? It comes out the 13th. So I think he'll be okay. I think he'll get over it very, very soon, and I think he'll end up liking it again. But as someone who doesn't play it right now, I couldn't possibly talk about the current state of the game. That's not fair at all. Okay, here's a very simple question to answer, though the question itself is very long. I am almost to my Nexus, which is item level 115, but see that the recent patches are now weapons with much higher item levels and seemingly better stats. Does the Nexus even compare? No, the Nexus doesn't compare to the new weapons if you can get them. You cannot get a higher item level weapon right now unless you step foot and at least beat turn 11 or the final coil of Bahamut turn 2. And that's by design. The next upgrade to the relic weapon will be more comparable. I'm gonna guess the next relic weapon is going all the way to 130. Excuse me, but regardless, yeah, right now it doesn't compare, but in like 2.45 or 2.5, when the next step gets added, it'll compare again. Okay, this question came with a little tidbit with a thank you. I'm going to leave that out, but I do want to thank that person for writing what they wrote about me. They said they have 2 questions for next week. For Dark, my free company mates have been debating what the main stat will be. Okay, I'm going to stop you right there because I just saw 3 letters that spelled INT, and I'm going to tell you right now, it's a tank, which means their main stat is technically going to be Vitality. I know that what you're talking about in terms of their damage amplifying stat. You know, considering they're using a giant sword, I want to say it's going to be strength, but after what I said about Ninja, I'm just going to leave that open. I'm mostly sure it's going to be strength as their damaging stat, but I mean Vitality, until they can, it's similar to the Warrior where you need a certain amount of health before you start equipping like pure strength gear. It's going to be for the most part Vitality as their main stat. I'm going to call that their main stat at least. And second, I haven't seen you post many fitness videos. That is just because I have been, ever since I got back from FanFest, it's just been totally fucked. I've been working out around the house. I've been making sure to get some physical activity, but nothing too hardcore. I've only been to the gym a few times since I got back from Fan Festival, so that is the reason why you haven't seen any fitness videos. I've been working on my eating habits a little bit more than fitness videos because I have terrible eating habits that no matter how much I go to the gym, and nothing's gonna make up for those. And I only get those from living at home. When I used to live in college, my eating habits were like, I could go like, I only ate like things that I cooked or things that were satisfactory to me in terms of healthiness. But when I'm home, and I do some grocery shopping, but I don't always have a choice. So yeah, that would be why I want to get back into them. I just need a little bit more time. Okay, I've got 2 questions left on the week 12 video, and then I'm going to grab a few questions from the week 11 video. So, yo man, what other YouTubers do you watch, associate with, enjoy, know IRL, etc.? Specifically, maybe not Final Fantasy 14 related. Also, have you ever thought about collaborating with another 14 YouTuber on anything? I watch this British guy, Mrhappy Menethil. I used to be in the same free company as Mrhappy for crafting tips all the time, and he's pretty good. So, what other YouTubers do you watch? It's not mostly other YouTubers. I watch Achievement Hunter. I've been watching them for years and years and years. They were a big inspiration inspiration for me when I first started doing YouTube. Like, a reason why I wanted to just post videos on YouTube was very similar to those guys, even though we don't do anything remotely similar. Let's see. And mostly Twitch streamers I watch. I watch a lot of League of Legends streamers. I watch a lot of speedrunners, mostly Dark Souls. I love Dark Souls. Of course, I'll watch Sig whenever he's on, whatever he's speedrunning. I don't even care. So, let's see. And then for YouTube, yeah, it's mostly just Achievement Hunter, really, and, like, epic rap battles of history, so that's not really, I wouldn't really call those role models on YouTube, but, those are mostly watch and enjoy. As for associate with, I've associated with a few in the past, and Mrhappy I was actually supposed to do a collaboration with, but I can't remember, I think I was just, like, so busy that I couldn't get around to doing what he was asking me to do. I had that happen with quite a few people. I was pretty bad with it back then. I was trying really, really hard to get like a lot of things out on my YouTube channel. So, yeah, I mean, I'd like to do collaborations. It's just that I'm kind of a tough person to work with. I mean, realistically, I'm a pain in the ass to work with. So, that would be the one thing stopping it, I guess. And the last question from the Week 12 video that I'm going to be looking at, Senor Felice, what is your opinion on the state of healing in Final Fantasy XIV at the moment? Do you feel like that, do you like the direction that healing went since 2.0? Would you like to see any changes? Healing, you know, I guess as somebody who, I only heal content, I guess, once it's a little bit dated. Even if I have no experience with it, like, I kind of want to heal turn 9, just so I can go in on my Scholar and have a good time. State of healing? Yeah, I don't know if I'm qualified to answer that. It's rough. It's rough on healers. It's always rough on healers when, like, a new raid, like, when a new raid that pushes the item level boundaries comes out. They always have it rough. It's different. It takes a lot of proactive and reactive healing on both parts, and it's really relying on people not being hit by things that they shouldn't be hit by. So, what would you like to see? I'd just like to see a new type of healer. I mean, I think that they executed Scholar better than I expected to have the pet healer. White Mage is, I don't know, I don't like White Mage that much, but that's just a personal thing. I'd like to see a real, like, heal over time job, you know, like, yeah, sure, they have regen and they have Whispering Dawn, but like a legit, like, oh, my heals over time, like a druid in World of Warcraft, like a druid healer, if you could call them that. I don't even know if they still are heal over time heals, or if they just have like 2 heals over time and then the rest is all just burst healing. I don't even know. But regardless, I think it's fine right now. I think they could definitely make it a little bit more interesting, but we're just gonna have to wait and see. Okay, here's a question from week 11 that I really, really want to answer. Question: with the level cap being raised to 3.0 and thus new abilities are sure to be added to existing jobs, and Yoshi P mentioning during a live letter that at that point they would probably add new summons to the Summoner, would it be out of the question to think they might add a new summon for the Scholar in the form of, say, Sylph? I think it'd be a nice way to add a summon from Final Fantasy Tactics and still being fairly true to the form of Scholars. They could do it. There's no reason they couldn't add another pet to the Scholars as well. It's either that or they'll have to add more actual abilities to the job. I guess that's not true. They added an ability and a job pretty much for almost all the Summoner quests. One thing I was actually talking about with some viewers and with some free company mates is the idea of a Phoenix Eggy. And that is like you know, obviously it heals, you know, very similar to the other two. It still has Embrace, or they could give it a different name like Heal Fire. No, that's a terrible name. But also to have it be like a pet that has an in-combat res on an actual like long cooldown, as opposed to, you know, like Raze has no cooldown, but it's pretty much drains all of your MP. I think that would be a very interesting thing for Scholars to bring, would be that in-combat res that doesn't eat all your MP. It might make them a little too mandatory, but I mean, at this point, you pretty much are always going to run one White Mage, one Scholar. I guess the point will be, since we're going to have 3 healers in Heavensward, like total, that would make the Scholar a mandatory choice of the 3. Now that there's going to be more than 2 of them, we have to start considering, why would I bring this job instead of this job? I know it's something the DPS have always had to consider, but now that there's going to be another tank and another healer, it's something they have to start considering as well. Sure, I'd love to see another summon on the Scholar, as long as it's thematically cool and still makes sense for the Scholar job. And considering the way that the Scholar works with a lot of the way their current lore works, I'm kind of hard pressed to think about what a new summon would be, if not just another fairy. Alright, this is probably a stupid question to have to grab. Mr. Happy, what would you call the perfect bachelor party in your opinion? I don't think I should answer that on a YouTube video because I don't know that it would be appropriate for my YouTube channel. But I wanted to acknowledge that that question actually existed as one of my week 11 questions. So, you know what? I'll go with the PG answer. Be like, yeah, LAN party. Yeah, LAN party. With a poll in the middle. Anyway, let's move on. Alright, and the last question that I am going to answer from week 11, I didn't see as many questions as I thought I had to go through from week 11. I don't know why. But Mrhappy, because they like to do game crossovers with Final Fantasy 14 like how they did with 13 and 11, how would you feel about Zorn and Thorn fight from Final Fantasy 9 with the powers they have? I feel like they could easily be fit into Final Fantasy 14. What do you think the next crossover might be? I hope you understand that the crossovers are not just, hey, we're going to do this crossover because we can. That's why I'm kind of confused as to why they have decided to do the Crystal Tower. I think that the Crystal Tower was mostly just a marketing tool. Like, oh, did you like Final Fantasy 3? Well, the Crystal Tower is in Final Fantasy 14. I don't know that they're going to keep doing that, but the 13 crossover event was a promotional event for Lightning Returns, and the 11 event, I don't remember what the reason was behind the Final Fantasy 11. I think it was Final Fantasy 11's anniversary, but then I don't remember what the Dragon Quest X is just another online Square Enix game. I don't know, it's not like they're just gonna randomly start doing crossovers for Final Fantasy 9 and 7 and 8. Those are old and those are classics, and they should kind of remain that way a little bit. Yeah, they throw a few things in there that remind you. We have Costa del Sol, there's NPCs with similar names and actions. Of course, you have Biggs and Wedge, which are a classic in the Final Fantasy series as a whole. Now, I don't want to see them just start grabbing enemies, or I don't want to just see them grabbing, like, characters that are part of stories from other, like Sephiroth and like Griever or anything like that. Griever might actually be okay, but like Squall or Ultimecia, I don't want to see them grabbing just, oh, hey, villains, yes, come to our game. Come to our game. People love that, right? People loved you guys in your game, so they'll love you in our game. Actually, a lot of people don't want that. There are a lot of people that do want that, but I'm on the fence. It's just like, leave them over there. Come out with some more original stuff. Final Fantasy, draw from the things that Final Fantasy uses in every game. You know, draw from, you know, oh, we have Chocobos, Moogles, and then do a little thing here and there with, it's like, oh, that's a reference to this. But don't literally just be like, all right, Sephiroth, come on, what do you do? This is the wrong place. This isn't your game. Come on. Come on. Get out. Get out. No one wants you. Nail Van Darnus was basically like you anyway. I just told somebody that on one of my YouTube comments. So, yeah, I'm going to just go ahead and say, I would prefer not to have that. But those are all the questions that I am going to do for this week. I let the video extend on just because it was a day late, but now I have to get back to work. So anyway, guys, thank you for watching questions. Be sure to ask questions for next Monday, not Tuesday, like this week was. Be sure to ask questions under the video that you want me to answer. It doesn't have to be Final Fantasy 14 related, just has to be appropriate. But anyway, guys, thank you for watching, and until next time, take care.